I rock the freestyle chess.
You have to say the microphone as well.
Oh.
I rock the microphone.
I rock the microphone freestyle chess.
I rock the microphone freestyle chess.
I rock the microphone of freestyle chess.
As I rock the microphone freestyle chess. Can I do a take two?
All right, I think we deserve a 10 out of 10 for cringe opening there. Welcome to the Take post-game show after day 2 of the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam event at Weissenhaus. Let's try that opening one more time. That's more like it. We love seeing those chess moves from Weissenhaus, and let's go down to where the action is happening in Germany in the Take sofa. Grandmaster David Howell. David, how's your bumfunk MCs?
I mean, I'm just glad you didn't catch me, trying, probably failing to rap there, but what a tune that was.
I know, good job by the players there. David, what has it been like in Germany today? What has day 2 of the freestyle chess event been like?
Yeah, it's been a cold day here, very windy day. I went for a walk and bumped into some chess players wrapped up in their warm coats. But as soon as the players sat down at the boards, it got heated. We did see the departure, or at least the elimination of 2 players from the running for first place. We're heading into the quarterfinals tomorrow. The 10 have now become 8. And some small surprises, Kaya, but also some big matches, historic matches in a clash of past and current world champions.
100%. We're going to take a look at that. But first, the standings, David. Let's take a look at that. We started out with 10 players, and today 2 players were knocked out. Fedoseev and Aronian, they never really got started, either of them.
No, it was kind of a story of false dawns, especially for Fedoseev. First of all, he got into this event through an online qualifier. He's defeated Magnus Carlson, Fabiano Caruana, Arjun Erigaisi, all of the 2800 club in classical chess in the last kind of 12 months. But once he got here, it just felt like he wasn't comfortable. Yes, he got another victory against Magnus. He took down the world number 1 again. But the rest of the time, it was just kind of, inconsistent play, I would say. He kept trying to create the kind of freestyle chess that we saw from him. Wasn't quite at his normal standard, though. And he didn't quite make it. He was eliminated in the last round. But Levon Aronian, for him, it was just, unfortunately, a bit of a horror show. He was nowhere near his best. And for me, that's the biggest loss. We have 8 great players, of course, left in the quarterfinals. But Levon Aronian at his best, of course, one of the best players in history. But it wasn't this week.
100%. Magnus Carlson yesterday got off to quite a bad start to this first freestyle event. But today, he's been looking good.
Yeah, Magnus was looking good. He nearly won all of his games, actually. And the one blemish was a draw against Alireza Firouzja. Magnus was losing that one, fought back. But yeah, a real turnaround. Yesterday, Magnus lost 3 games and 2 in a row at the end. He nearly lost his first game today. I cannot remember, Kaya, the last time Magnus lost 3 games in a row in any format, in his whole chess career. So that was narrowly avoided. But Magnus, once he got going, never looked back. And yesterday at dinner, he was down. He was disgusted with himself. I interviewed him after the game today. Yeah, I've not seen him like that in a while, Magnus. But yeah, after the games today, he was buzzing, he was bouncing, he was back to himself.
Yeah, finishing the day off with a win against world champion Gukesh. And David, let's hear from that interview you did with Magnus today.
So I'm here with Magnus Carlson, who's just finished day 2 here at Weissenhaus. Magnus, it's been a pretty intense couple of days. What are your first impressions?
Of course, it's been tough. It's really, really difficult to play this format. I feel like I was in time travel in a lot of games, and I was rarely in control at all. But it's of course it's nice to win a couple of games. I didn't feel like I played particularly better today than I did yesterday. I felt yesterday, as we see the beautiful position on the board.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, that's all right. Sindarov outplayed me. Fabi outplayed me, but mainly was just one moment where he had seen obviously a lot deeper than I had. The thing my blunder against Fedoseev was inexcusable, but apart from that, I didn't feel that I was feeling all right, and I didn't feel like I played particularly badly. Of course, today there was one game where I was completely outplayed against Alireza, but the other ones, I think I played all right.
Yeah, and does it ever creep in, kind of that doubt after starting kind of not at your usual level? Yesterday, I mean, you did start with a win against Hikaru, but after that it was a bit shaky, and you were, I guess, just above the danger zone heading into today's play. Did that ever cross your mind that things might get a bit hairy there?
No, of course I was hoping to be further ahead, but the thing about freestyle is you cannot really game plan for these things because it's too hard simply.
You literally have to freestyle.
So you really just have to go out there and try and win. So I wasn't thrilled obviously, but I wasn't really worried per se that I was gonna get in trouble. Honestly, nothing really happened. The two guys who were in last place before today, they were eliminated. I was in fourth. I guess Hikaru was in fifth or sixth. We're still there. Top three guys are still the same. So the scores got a lot tighter, but the placings really didn't.
And you mentioned the two players who were eliminated, Levon Aronian, Vladimir Fedoseev. Are you surprised by that at all? Two players who I would say, pretty suited for this format.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that Fedoseev didn't do better. Obviously, Levon had some very, very inspired moments last year as well. He would certainly have hoped to do better, but it seemed that he was just not on his game at all, and that's unfortunate for him, of course, but yeah, for him it was just never close.
And I have to ask about the game with Gukesh. We were following it a lot. I think the whole chess world probably following it. First game against him since he'd become world champion. Did you approach it differently? How do you feel it went? Were you surprised at all?
Yeah, I was. I think the game was very decent for a long time. I was very happy to get in this counter strike in the center with e4 e5. I thought my queen is controlling the diagonal. I always have these tricks with going rook e8 and then long castling, and it felt like his position was a bit shaky. Then I'd seen that he could play d4, but I was one, hoping maybe he wouldn't play it, two, hoping that I would find something, and I checked it briefly afterwards. Actually, there is something with queen e8 and knight b5. That's really, really difficult to find. So after that, I was a bit disappointed because then the position was just equal, and yeah, honestly, after that, I think it was just lack of experience on his part, because he just took too many chances, and then when it was time to be a little bit, he was really brave, and then when it was time to be brave again, he retreated. But by the time he retreated, it was very difficult to hold this position in practice. And at that point, I thought my winning chances were great.
Yeah, some of your recaps on Take during the World Championship match, you mentioned his clock handling. He went into an end game when it didn't seem necessary. Those things, is that what you mean when it comes to inexperience?
No, I think the end game itself was completely fine. Of course, I have this protected pass once, but his pieces are so well placed that he should never really get in trouble. I think it was later, he could have, for instance, exchanged rooks at some point, which is just a dead draw. at a couple of points, and you know, it's a thing we talked about earlier as well. Is that he wasn't really playing by hand. He was trying to, you know, do a little bit too much.
He wanted to beat you, Magnus. He wanted to play.
No, I don't know. I think honestly there was not a single point in the game where it was realistic that he could play for a win. That hasn't stopped him from playing for a win in the past, but I think the practical chances were always with me, especially with the time. And what generally happens there is that when things start going downhill, they just collapse, because as soon as I get my pieces going, this pawn, if not located, is just unstoppable.
Yeah, it was a great game. Go check it out on the Take app. And Magnus, just before I let you go, quarterfinals you mentioned. I'm not sure the pairings have been.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's unless something crazy happens, the 4-5, myself and Hikaru are actually going to be the 4-5. I cannot imagine. I think the other choices are Abdusatorov, Gukesh, and Keimer. Like, I could see somebody choosing. I could see like one of them choosing. Yeah, I mean,
you get last pick, right?
No. So the thing is, like, I think that Keimer probably and Gukesh are going to be picked first, and then Abdusatorov or Hikaru. Like, you know, as I think about it, it's not as much of a given fact, but I would not bet any money on me playing somebody else than Hikaru in the semifinals. Quarterfinals.
Unless it's a daredevil, yeah. Not kind of picking Hikaru. It does feel counterintuitive. And what are your thoughts, assuming it is Hikaru, ahead of the classical portion of the event?
I think he picked up his game quite a bit today. Yesterday, I think he was quite poor, and he was probably lucky not to be even worse off in the standing. Of course, there were some chances missed as well, as there usually are, but it was quite shaky. Today, it looked quite a bit better, and I was not surprised to see him climb up the standings. And, you know, eventually he reached +2, which I did as well, which is not a bad score. But there just happened to be three guys who scored a lot of points very early and who were just cruising. So, you know, he is very, very strong, and a very tough opponent. I think I'm going to be in probably the tougher end of the bracket as well. But, you know, I managed to do it last year, so why not this year as well?
Are you looking forward to having more time on the clock, first of all?
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to having time on the clock. I love delving deeply into the positions from the start, but when you're playing this fast rapid, at some point you just have to start blitzing, and then, you know, it's difficult, but classical time control is going to be awesome.
Magnus, it's been a long couple of days for you. Congratulations on getting to the quarterfinals, and best of luck for the rest of the event.
Thank you.
David, yeah, Magnus was definitely seeming joyful today. A good day for him with a bunch of wins. Is he now sort of looking like himself in this format?
I would say so, yes. Magnus admitted he's actually looking forward to the next portion of the tournament a lot more, because it's a longer time format. He has a bit more time to delve deeper into the positions, but yeah, confidence is everything. He's known, he's famous as a slow starter, Kaya, and he's going to be a hard one to stop now that he's finally picked up some momentum.
Yeah, it was cool to hear him commentate on this game between himself and Gukesh. Everyone's been looking forward to it. The first time the world number one plays against the 18-year-old world champion Gukesh. And I would love to check out the game, David, if you could guide us through it from the crazy starting position to some highlights and eventually Magnus winning it.
Yeah, I've got the Take app up here right now, and the first thing to notice about this position is the fact that the 4 bishops are all in the corner. That means they're on the longest possible diagonals. We would normally call that fianchetto, but it also means they're likely to be traded off, and About 1 year ago with Magnus, I had a bit of a training camp just ahead of the Weissenhaus tournament. I was helping him prepare. We were playing some training games, and he said there's one thing he hates, only one type of position he hates, and that's with the bishops in the corner because it's so hard to avoid trades, exchanges. He said it becomes symmetrical, it becomes dull. Luckily, he was playing a fighter in Gukesh, and we see Gukesh's first move, opening up the queen here. There's one thing I've learned from the last 2 days, and it's that the top players love to open up some diagonals, some lines for their queen early on. You don't want to bring out the queen too early. Magnus blundered 2 queens yesterday, but there we go. Magnus replying by opening up one of his bishops. And just to show the next couple of moves, we saw some pawn pushes, Magnus putting a knight on the edge of the board, again, kind of breaking opening strategy. And then the first set of bishops get exchanged. And Magnus's queen in the black corner soon plays a really important part. But if we fast forward now to move 10, we see that after some developing moves from both sides, suddenly there's some real tension in the center, and Magnus struck out with this move, pawn to e5. That's the one he kind of name dropped in the interview with me, because he was suddenly fighting for the center of the board. The kings, neither side has castled yet, and it was like maximum tension. Magnus loves that, of course. Gukesh not with enough time on the clock to calculate, and we see in a moment the after a couple of exchanges, the white king jumping the whole way across the board. A really cool move. Castling a Fischer random chess or freestyle chess is the hardest possible thing. And now Magnus striking out in the center again, taking advantage of a pin there, just shown with that green arrow, the tension between the queens. And the one move Magnus said he saw, but hoped, he was praying Gukesh wouldn't find, was a beautiful pawn sacrifice. Of course, Gukesh found it. He's the 18th world champion for a reason. Pawn to d4, attacking the black queen. The white knight is soon to jump out. And yeah, this is where things started to get a bit spicy. And Magnus just went into survival mode. He tried to stabilize the position. And yeah, ultimately, play was balanced. It was level material. But a few moves down the line, the queens eventually did come off. And later, there was a critical moment where Gukesh had the safer king. Normally, we do say keeping queens on the board when you have a safe king is a good idea. It means you pretty much play risk-free, whereas your queen is the most valuable attacker. Here we see the black king, Magnus's king, slightly airy, a bit vulnerable. But Gukesh went into an endgame, and although Magnus said the endgame should be fine, it should be a draw, stylistically, psychologically, I think this was Gukesh's first big mistake, because Magnus, best endgame player of all time. That's pretty much beyond doubt at this point. And Gukesh not quite at that level in the endgame. We saw Gukesh try to jump in with his knight, threatening a fork now. The white knight trying to attack the 2 black rooks at the same time. But the black rooks, they have a lot of squares to jump to. And we saw Magnus evade any potential attacks. And yeah, if we just go quickly through the next few moves, one set of rooks left the board. Magnus offered a knight trade. Gukesh said no. He avoided a rook trade as well. It felt like Gukesh was taking big risks, just desperate to keep pieces on the board. We saw that in the World Championship match. Served him well there, but not against Magnus, who, after some nice maneuvering with his rook, his knight, his king, eventually was able to open up a line. And it was only later, after some dancing around, when Magnus struck with the move pawn to b5, where suddenly Gukesh started to realize there was danger. It's not just about trying to undermine the white knight, it's trying to isolate the white pawns over there on that left flank on the queen side. And just a few moves down the line, Gukesh's worst fears were all realized. The black king entered the center. Kings are so important in the endgame. Black's rook has an easy way into the white position. White's rook, white's king, just too passive. And Magnus ended this game really nicely. In a moment after the white knight jumped, there was a check. And it was here, next move, where the black knight jumped into the center, threatening checkmate, really classy. There's simply nowhere to go for the white king. The white king is cornered, and one check, kicking the black king into the center, wasn't enough to save Gukesh. He tried to escape with his king, but the black pawn now coming, and yeah, it was time to resign in just a couple of moves. Gukesh actually made a couple of mistakes there towards the end, but Magnus punished him so efficiently.
A win for Magnus Carlson. Do you think that actually meant a lot to him, David, to beat Gukesh, the world champion? Magnus is world number 1, to really show that he still is the best in the world?
Yeah, I think Magnus is at an age now, he tries to pretend it's not a thing. this hunger inside to win. But like you say, Kaya, he's got a point to prove always. Magnus, he needs to get motivated somehow. He gets motivated because freestyle is fresh, and he gets motivated against opponents like Gukesh. So yeah, definitely, that was one Magnus really wanted.
Yeah. Gukesh is also through to the quarterfinals. He hasn't played his best chess, but he is through to those quarterfinals. And we don't know yet, David, who will play who in those quarterfinals. That will be chosen later tonight at Weissenhaus. But let's try to be prophets here. Let's try to look at the standings to figure out who will play who when the quarterfinals start tomorrow. Alireza Firouzja ends up as the winner of the round robin rapid portion, and he can then make the first pick who he wants to play in the quarterfinals from the 8 players that has gone through. Who do you think he's going to pick?
Yeah, so Alireza can choose from places 5 to 8. The top 4 get the choice, so he can pick only one of those 4 players we see at the kind of 5th to 8th spots there, and it's a tough one. Mm-hmm. I would probably choose Vincent Keymer if it were me. Just on paper, Keymer has never had the kind of elite results that most of the others have had, and I think stylistically for Alireza, it's quite nice to play a positional player. You know, if you get a chance to attack him. Yeah, I think that's the one I would pick, Kaya, but you never know with these top players. Depends what they've had for dinner. They're choosing just before dessert here. So it depends on Alireza's mood.
Maybe they'll actually sort of hang out at dinner, try to influence Alireza and Sindarov to not choose whoever, you know. Kind of interesting situation how they're setting this up. And then we do have in second place Sindarov, 19-year-old from Uzbekistan, just had a fantastic tournament so far. So if, let's say then, Alireza picks Vincent Keymer, who do you think then Sindarov will choose?
Yeah, Sindarov, he loves a challenge. He actually sat with me yesterday and said he hopes for another chance to play Magnus. He's got 100% against Magnus now over the board, but Magnus is in the top 4, so Sindarov, he cannot choose, you know, the strongest player. I don't think he'll choose Nodibek Abdusattorov either because they're countrymen, they're friends, teammates. I have a feeling he might pick Gukesh.
Wow.
He wants a challenge. Gukesh is the world champion. They're similar ages. There's like 1 year between them or a few months between them. That's my bet. I think it's going to be a fun one between the teenagers.
Wow, that's a cool one. And then Fabiano Caruana also had a great freestyle tournament so far. Who will he then choose?
Well, Kaya, I want your thoughts as well.
I mean, it's difficult. Abdusattorov, he had a great first day. He really struggled today on day 2. Mm-hmm. But I guess Fabi, he doesn't want to face his fellow American Hikaru, who is also the reigning Fisher Random champion of the world. So I guess he will choose Abdusattorov.
Yeah, I think it's very likely. Fabi actually has a terrible score in recent times against Hikaru. It's so one-sided. It's kind of, I don't know why. It's stylistically, they're very well matched, but Fabi always seems to lose to Hikaru. So that's one safe bet. He'll choose anyone left who isn't named Hikaru Nakamura.
Mm-hmm. And that means, David, we are left with a quarterfinal between Magnus Carlson and Hikaru Nakamura. That seems like the most likely outcome right now. And that's crazy. That will be super cool. Who will be the favorite?
Oh, that's so tough, Kaya. I mean, it's going to be the match of the round if it happens. Both Magnus and Hikaru seem to think it was inevitable. Of course, Magnus won't get a choice. He'll just have whoever's left, basically. And if nobody picks Hikaru, this is pretty much guaranteed. The tournament organizers, I should say, they were worried. They wanted this in the final. They wanted Magnus Carlson, Hikaru Nakamura final at the end of the week. So they're hoping someone else kind of gets there first and picks Hikaru. But I'm going to say Magnus starts as the favorite, just a very small favorite. Hikaru is the world champion in Fisher Random for a reason, though. And if both bring their best, who knows? I just want to see it.
I mean, let's hope we get that in the quarterfinal. That's super cool. Hikaru Nakamura also had a fantastic day 2 here at the freestyle event. 3 wins in a row, 1 draw to finish off the rapid round robin. He did have 1 win, for example, against Fabiano Caruana. Let's hear what Hikaru said to David and the sofa after the day.
So I'm here with Hikaru Nakamura, who's just finished the second day of action here at Weissenhaus. Hikaru, it's been 2 long days of rapid freestyle chess. What are your first impressions? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think yesterday I did not play particularly well. I was trying to get into the rhythm, but I think every game I played, at some point I was losing, maybe even winning at some point in every game as well. So it was very choppy. But I think today I really stabilized, and I just played simple chess for the most part, and good things seemed to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned yesterday it started off against Magnus, but you kind of stabilized at some point. You found your way back in, and kind of heading into today, you weren't quite safe. You were on 2 points, I believe. Did you have a specific strategy in mind?
Well, I mean, I think the first things first is the Magnus game. Honestly, I think it epitomizes why it's very, very tough to play. I mean, I would say impossible, frankly, if you want a high-quality game in Fischer Random, in Rapid or Blitz, just because that was a game where time played a huge role. There were a couple of moments in the game where Magnus played some moves that were a little bit dubious, but I was low on the clock and I couldn't capitalize or even save the game. And I think that really symbolizes why I don't particularly like the format. I don't think players should be eliminated based off of Rapid or Blitz in general. But then, yeah, I think today, you know, the main thing was I had what I would say were slightly easier pairings. I didn't have to play Magnus. I didn't have to play Ali Reza. Maybe Fabiano, of course. I mean, he is very dangerous. But overall, I thought the pairings were a little bit softer today. And you know, the good thing is, since it is top 8 who move on, you know, finishing, you know, with only 2 players being eliminated, if I can't make it into the top 8, I mean, that's really my own fault. So I felt pretty good, and I think I played much more simplistic chess, especially after the first round against Sidorov. Just played simple and tried to keep it relatively easy to play, where I didn't have to spend a lot of time, and it paid huge dividends, especially in the last 2 games, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned the time format for, I mean, Fischer Random freestyle chess here, because I was speaking to Levon last night, and he was playing some blitz games with Fedoseev. They were trying to play themselves into form. They were playing against each other. And I was like, wait, why are you guys playing kind of normal chess? Surely you should be playing blitz, kind of Fischer Random. But they were like, no, there's just no point, right?
Well, I mean, I tried that yesterday, and I mean, that's not necessarily an excuse, but I think the fact that I tried to play 3+1 a bunch before the event started was very bad, because actually I tried to play normally, like just focus on the opening, go down a little bit of time. And then somewhere around like the 7th or 8th game that I was playing, I think it was against like Buddy Pranav and maybe then Theodoro as well, I just started playing fast and not caring about the opening, and then it went really downhill. So I tried that yesterday, and I think it didn't work. I played a little bit of regular blitz this morning, actually, so I don't think there's a good way to approach it. That kind of symbolizes why I'm not a big fan of the quicker format. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but it's also kind of weird, because I was having a conversation with Peter Heine at breakfast, and I was sort of saying how it's kind of weird because you don't know what to do. On the one hand, it's nice to not have to prepare, but at the same time, I mean, every single one of us has spent, I mean, okay, Gukesh is young, but the older guard at least, like you look at Fabiano, Magnus, myself, and Levon, we've spent at least 20 years going to tournaments. You spend a couple of hours, I mean, whether it's at night or morning, whatever, you spend a few hours before the game preparing. And it's very strange not to do that, and then you also don't know how you're supposed to prepare. So I think my big takeaway is that playing too much before is not good, and also I think you have to come in fresh. That's the most important thing. And when you see a bunch of positions like I did yesterday with the knights on the edge or knights in the middle, it all kind of becomes whatever and very blah. So I think it's just you have to be fresh, and that's why I think it's not worth it to really spend much time preparing.
So you didn't spend too much time doing specific kind of training for this event, looking at kind of patterns, looking at ideas?
No, I mean, I think it's very hard to do that. There was a conversation last night where I think Fabiano was Fabiano, Ali Reza, and myself, and Fabiano was essentially saying that if you spend 2 hours, not 2 hours, sorry, if you basically play like four rapid games every day for 2 years, you can probably memorize all the starting positions. And Ali Reza definitely didn't believe that. I certainly don't believe that. So unless someone has some magic way of like basically in your mind coding it where you can remember the specific piece placement, I don't think it's realistic, and I think it's counterproductive, if anything, because then when you get to board, like even with Fabiano when we were analyzing some positions, it looks familiar to something you've seen, but you really don't know. It's like, is it bishop on G1? Is it on like E1? You know, some of the pieces are the same, but then you can't remember the rest.
Sometimes.
Yeah, so I don't think there's a huge benefit. Also, I mean, when I played Magnus in 2018 in Norway, we played a match. For that one, I think we were given some like 30 minutes or 45 minutes before each game where we could consult with a computer program or a second. And I remember very distinctly that in basically every game, I prepared some lineup to like move 3. Or not move 3, to like move 5 or move 6. Like I would play the best moves, of course. You look at what the computer says, and then I was already out of prep anyway on move 3 because Magnus or I did something different that we weren't ready for. So even with the benefit of trying to prepare, it didn't really work out. So I don't think there's much benefit. I think it comes down to who comes up with the best opening plan. I will say, however, that looking at all the players here, it seems to me that Fabiano is probably the player who has put in the most time. In terms of preparation, he seems to have a pretty good grasp on what the ideas are. So if anyone's impressed me, it's Fabiano.
Okay, and I'll let you go because it's been a long couple of days. But final quick question: anyone you want to play in the quarterfinals? Anyone you want to avoid?
I mean, apparently I'm playing Magnus, which is that's what I was told.
Wow.
I don't know if that's the case. Again, I also don't know because I think I think maybe one or two players pick the numbers. I actually don't know, but I was told that I play Magnus, so. That'll be fun. I think that in general, I don't really care who I play. I'm just happy that it's going to be slow chess where I have time to think. I mean, the fact that I can spend time to think means that I shouldn't make some huge blunder and lose a game unnecessarily. So if I get outplayed, I get outplayed, but it's going to be fun no matter what.
Hikaru, best of luck in the quarters, whoever you play.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A great day for Hikaru Nakamura, maybe facing Magnus Carlson in the quarterfinals tomorrow. And he played some really nice games today. David, I asked you before we started the show here what you thought was the craziest starting position that we had today. You said the starting position in round 7. That was really crazy. And that was actually the round when Hikaru beat Fabiano Caruana. Let's just take a look at the opening here. What is so crazy about it? I mean, I can see it's crazy, but what exactly is that? What makes it so crazy?
Well, for me, this is the perfect mix between traditional chess and freestyle chess, because you do see 3 pieces for each side starting on their normal squares. You see the kings in the center on the e-file. That's where they normally start the game. There's a set of rooks in the corner there as well on the left side. And both sides have 1 bishop on their normal square. But for me, it's just the fact that the flanks are so imbalanced. If you compare the right side of the board here for white, there's a couple of knights there, there's a rook, but it's a bit kind of understaffed. There aren't so many powerful pieces. All the powerful pieces lie on the other side of the board, the queen side. The white queen, the white bishops, all next to each other. It's very much a long-range kind of sniper game. We saw that in Hikaru's win against Fabiano. We saw it Firouzja nearly taking down Magnus in this round. The queen, the bishops, they kind of line up, they hit from afar, and that round was a bit of a bloodbath, mainly because of this formation.
And how did Hikaru sort of choose to play in the opening here then?
Yeah, he pushed his pawn forward, and look at this already, the white queen and bishop lining up against a pawn. Really interesting moment here. The white light squared bishop could have gone super greedy and grabbed a pawn the whole way on the other side of the board. This never happens in normal chess, only freestyle, where both sides have kind of weak spots, Achilles' heels. But Hikaru here, I think he sensed some danger. He just tried to make it symmetrical for a few moves. He actually tried to prolong the fight in the end. I expected immediate chaos. He chose the longer term game, but it really paid off for him.
Yeah, eventually winning that game against his fellow American. So now we're looking ahead to quarterfinals starting tomorrow. They will play 2 days, so 1 game one day, and then in the match the second game on the next day. If they are tied, it will be decided with tie breaks. The time control now we're heading into more classical water with the time control of 90 minutes for the whole game and 30 seconds increment after each move. So how different will this be, David, when it's freestyle chess and long form chess?
Yeah, it's going to be totally different. It means that the players can breathe, the spectators, the commentators can breathe, and really get into the details, really kind of dig deep and try to understand what's actually going on. Because in the rapid portion, we call it freestyle chess. They were literally freestyling. They had not that much time to kind of understand why a knight in the corner is so bad, or how to get it into the game, how to develop those pieces. We're going to see, I think, just as spectacular chess. Nobody here wants to just make it symmetrical, make it boring. They're all here to fight. And actually having time on the clock allows you to generate these long-term plans, these strategies, and we'll see the players' personalities shine through a bit more. It will be less chaotic and random, dare I say, than the rapid chess was. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and the players are too. Magnus, Hikaru, they both said they cannot wait to get to this classical time limit.
And is it like that, David, that when the players come to the board tomorrow, they get the starting position, they have a few minutes, and then they sit down to play the game? With long chess, when they have time to think about the moves, to make the plans, is it the best player, the most brilliant player that wins?
Normally, we'll see at the end of the tournament, Kaya, but that's what happened last year, 1 year ago in the Freestyle GOAT Challenge that Magnus won here in Weissenhaus. Yeah, he did end up triumphant in the tournament, but he needed a few days to warm up. And yeah, it tends to be the more informed player, I would say. It normally suits the more aggressive player in the opening, freestyle chess, before it kind of starts resembling normal chess. So yeah, the players, especially with the white pieces where you normally get more of an advantage than you normally do. Yeah, I think it's those players who are just more in the zone, more locked in, who tend to end up on top. But yeah, easy to say, difficult to know for sure.
How cool. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be so much fun. We know that this is something Magnus Carlson has been working on, looking forward to for such a long time. After a lot of drama, it has finally started, and now it's all about the chess. Now, David, yesterday you told me that you guys were playing some blitz chess, some players were playing blitz chess. What are you guys going to do tonight at the luxury resort at Weissenhaus?
Oh, first it's that delicious dinner, but yesterday, yeah, the players, we actually, I'm not sure I should say this, but I'm sure he won't mind. We went back to Fabiano Caruana's suite. He had some tables, he had some sofas. We played a few rounds of Avalon, which is a deception-based card game. I'm sure you played it, Kaya.
I've played it, and whenever I've been at chess tournaments, I always see like people hanging out, whether it's players or commentators, playing Avalon. It's a chess player's game.
Exactly. I was a baddie. I was one of the bad guys, but they caught me very quickly, so it wasn't my finest moment. But yeah, the players, I think that's the difference in freestyle chess. They get time to unwind, they get time to relax. Opening preparation is far less kind of urgent. It's more general rather than kind of specific 4 hours studying this one opening with a computer. You just talk about concepts and try to get fresh for the battles ahead. So I think we'll see whatever the players, whatever gets them in that mood, helps them relax. I was in the sauna this morning, so maybe some of the players will follow suit.
How cool. Well, David, thank you so much for the insight from Germany. It's cool to hear that you guys are enjoying. Enjoy dinner tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
See you soon, Kaya.
Great to see David Howell, Grandmaster in the sofa in Weissenhaus. Tomorrow, quarterfinal starts in the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Tour event number 1. Remember to get the Take app to get notified when the action starts tomorrow. Will we see a quarterfinal between Magnus Carlson and the reigning Fischer Random World Champion Hikaru Nakamura? The action starts tomorrow. Thank you for watching.
I rock
Rock the
the
The microphone.
freestyle chess.